Good morning, dear subscribers. Well, I'm really happy to tell you that we were 50 people reading last time. This is really exceptional because it's a very difficult book, really hard to read. You know, it's called Les Misérables, one of the most famous books in French literature. We're going to read today page 28 and 29. So, well, yeah, you need a lot of courage to attack this book with me, but I count on you. I have my coffee. I hope you are making some coffee for you too, cup of tea. And we are starting with page number 28. So remember this man, Jean Valjean, did not find any place to stay. So he's kicked out everywhere. Finally, he's here in the house or at the door of a house where a family lives with 2 children. And so the man of the house, he says, Est-ce que vous seriez l'homme? Seriez, it's a conditional tense, so we translate it with would be. So would you be the man? Because he said before, well, I heard about a man who's not very popular at other places. So he heard already about Jean Valjean. And he asks him, would you be that man that is not welcome anywhere? Okay, now we're in the story. Il jeta un coup d'œil sur l'étranger, fit 3 pas en arrière, posa la lampe sur la table et décrocha son fusil du mur. So, the first part, it literally says he threw a new blow of the eye on the stranger. But to throw a blow of the eye, in English you would say, well, he glanced, he took a look. That's what we would say. He took a look at the stranger, did maybe 3 steps en arrière means backwards. Posa la lampe, so put the lamp on the table, and décrocher. Crochet, it's a hook. Huh? And décrocher is like to unhook, and unhooked his rifle from the wall. Well, I think in English, maybe we'd rather say he picked up his rifle from the wall. Cependant, aux paroles du paysan, est-ce que vous seriez l'homme? La femme s'était levée, avait pris ses 2 enfants dans ses bras et s'était réfugiée précipitamment derrière son mari. Well, we go already until here because I see it's a very long sentence, so we will translate up till here. So, cependant, but at the words of the peasant, so her husband, who asked, would you be the man? The wife had stood up. The verb is se lever. Hein? It's to get up, to stand up. Had taken her 2 children in her arms and s'était réfugiée, but we can say she fled, but maybe it's better. She took refuge précipitamment. Well, you could say the same in English, hein? Precipitately, so like quickly behind her husband. Regardant l'étranger avec épouvante, la gorge nue, les yeux effarés, en murmurant tout bas, Psaumaraude. Okay, so, behind her husband, looking at the stranger with épouvante is horror. She's very scared. La gorge nue, that's really, really interesting in French. It really means her throat naked. So a naked throat. But in French, you know, people are a little bit prudish. So gorge, throat, really meaning breast. So her breast was, I think she was breastfeeding one of the kids. So her naked breast. And you know, this I have to tell you, it's interesting. A bra in French, it's called soutien-gorge, which means something that holds up your throat. Funny, isn't it? So, well, all that to say, her breast, a naked breast, her eyes, effarées, I think we would say alarmed, and whispering very softly. In French, you say very low. Tsomarode. And Tsomarode, well, that is a dialect from the Alps, and it means it's a bit like a well, I think it says, let's scroll down. You see here, chat de maraude. It's like a wild cat going everywhere. It really means an evil-bringing traveler, we could say, huh? Because here he is like a traveler who brings evil to the village. At least that's what they think. Tout cela se fit en moins de temps qu'il ne faut pour se le figurer. So all that was done, and well, you can ask me questions, don't hesitate, but you will see that in French, to make a passive construction, so here we will say everything was done. In French, you will quite often use a construction with se, se, the reflexive pronoun. If you want more information about that, please ask me. So all that was done in less time than is necessary. Yes, il faut, that construction we have to know, is necessary to se le figurer, imagine it. Figurer, se figurer means to imagine something. So it went so quickly, in less time than you can imagine. Après avoir examiné quelques instants l'homme comme on examine une vipère, le maître du logis revient à la porte et dit. So, after having examined, looked at, during a few seconds, a few instants, the man, as one examines a viper, so a snake, the master of the lodge of the house came back to the door and said, so yes, so he took his rifle and he came back to the door. Va-t'en. Va-t'en means go away. Par grâce, reprit l'homme, un verre d'eau. So by grace, and it means like, please, answered the man. A glass of water. He's very thirsty. Un coup de fusil, dit le paysan. So a blow of the rifle, which means like a gunshot, said the peasant. So he doesn't even get a glass of water. OK. Puis il referma la porte violemment et l'homme l'entendit tirer 2 gros verrous. So then he closed again the door violently, and the man heard him pull 2 big locks. I think verrou, yeah, we would say a lock or maybe a latch, but 2 big locks. Un moment après, la fenêtre se ferma au volet et un bruit de barre de fer qu'on posait parvint au dehors. So a moment later, a moment after that, the window was closed. We see again this passive construction. So the window was closed, and in French with se. So it was closed with a shutter. Un volet is a shutter. And the sound or the noise of an iron bar or an iron rod, yes, an iron rod, that one put came outside. So the construction is really un bruit parvint au dehors. So a noise came outside, well, outside meaning, well, the man, Jean Valjean, behind the door or outside the door, heard that they were really blocking the house from inside. La nuit continuait de tomber. So the night continuer is like continued, went on to fall. So the night, it was darker and darker. But in French, you will say the night falls, and here continues to fall. Le vent froid des Alpes soufflait. So the cold wind of the Alps was blowing. À la lueur du jour expirant, l'étranger aperçut dans un des jardins qui bordait la rue une sorte de hutte qui lui parut maçonnée en motte de gazon. So la lueur, it's like the light, by the light of maybe the glow. So by the glow of the expiring day, the ending of the day, the stranger, the stranger, perceived, so he saw, in one of the gardens, which was edging the street, like along the street, at the border of the street, a kind of hut, which to him seemed being masoned, being built with clumps of grass. Gazon, it's grass. Motte, it's those big parts, big chunks or clumps of grass. Il franchit résolument une barrière de bois et se trouva dans le jardin. So, franchir means to cross, so he crossed résolument, firmly, a barrier in wood, so a wooden barrier, and found himself in the garden. Il s'approcha de la hutte. So he approached the hut, the small building. Elle avait pour porte une étroite ouverture très basse et elle ressemblait à ces constructions que les cantonniers se bâtissent au bord des routes. So she had, but why is it she? Because ut is feminine. And in English, you would not say she, you would say it. But in French, there's only he and she. So here it's she because it's la hutte. So it had as a door a narrow opening, very low, and again, she, but we would say it, looked like one of those constructions that cantonniers, that's the people who take care of the roads. So should we say road menders construct, bâtir, at the border or the edge of the roads. That's what it looked like. Il pensa sans doute que c'était en effet le logis d'un cantonnier. So he thought, without doubt, that it was indeed the lodge, the hut, the little house of a road mender, road sweeper, road mender. Il souffrait du froid et de la faim. He was suffering of cold and of hunger. Il s'était résigné à la faim, mais c'était du moins là un abri contre le froid. So he had resigned, you see, il s'était résigné, he had resigned, so he had accepted his hunger. But it was at least there a shelter against the cold. Ces sortes de logis ne sont habituellement pas occupés la nuit. So those kind of lodges are usually not occupied or not slept in during the night. Il se coucha à plat ventre et se glissa dans la hutte. So he se coucha, he lay down, and it really says at a flat stomach, so really flat on his stomach, and glided himself into the hut. Il y faisait chaud et il y trouva un assez bon lit de paille. So, it was there hot. And everything about the weather, about the temperature, and so on, it's always with the verb faire. Hein? Il fait soleil means it's sunny. Il fait chaud means it's warm. So it was there warm, and he found there a rather good bed of straw. Il resta un moment étendu sur ce lit. So he stayed for a moment, étendu, spread out. So he lay down, but he was spread out on the bed. And we're going to the next page, 29. And yeah, here you see Patois des Alpes français, chat de maraude, but we had already seen that. Okay, page 29. So there he was on that bed, on that straw bed, sans pouvoir faire un mouvement tant il était fatigué. So without being able to make or to do any movement, so much he was tired. He was so very tired. Puis, comme son sac sur son dos le gênait, et que c'était d'ailleurs un oreiller tout trouvé, il se mit à déboucler une des courroies. Okay, so then, as his bag on his back, gêner means, what shall I say, was like bothering him, and that it was, by the way, a pillow very well found. So this means a pillow very well found means that he finally found a place to sleep. That's what it means. He started to undo, to unbuckle, to undo. And remember, so to start in French could be commencer, but is also the verb se mettre à, which is used quite often. So that you really have to know, this verb you really have to know, se mettre à. It's not an easy verb to conjugate, but you have to know it. Okay, so he started to undo or unbuckle one of the straps. En ce moment, un grondement farouche se fit entendre. So at that moment, a roar, a wild roar, made itself heard. So he heard a wild roar. Il leva les yeux. We have again levé, it's like two words, it's upwards, so it's as if it says he put his eyes upwards, but so that means he looked up. La tête d'un dog énorme se dessinait dans l'ombre à l'ouverture de la hutte. So the head of a dog, but here I think dog, it's a bulldog, an enormous bulldog, se dessinait, it's like was drawn, but I think here we should say it was outlined in the shadow of the opening of the hut. C'était la niche d'un chien. It was the niche house of a dog. It was a dog house. Huh? Niche, it's like a nest. It really means nest, yes. So it was the nest of a dog. It was a dog house. Il était lui-même vigoureux et redoutable. So he was himself vigorous and dangerous, redoutable, fearsome maybe. Il s'arma de son bâton et se fit de son sac un bouclier. So he, and you see arme, hein? Arms, weapons is that? Hein? So he weaponed himself with his stick and made of his bag a bouclier, it's a shield. So he made, so like to protect himself. So his bag was like a shield. Et sortit de la niche comme il put, sans élargir les déchirures de ses haillons. And so he went out of the nest of the house, the dog house, as he could, not without making larger the déchirure, well, the, shall we say, the rippings or the ripping apart of his rags. So his clothes were even more ripped. Il sortit également du jardin, mais à reculons, obligé, pour tenir le dog en respect, d'avoir recours à cette manœuvre du bâton que les maîtres en ce genre d'escrime appellent la rose couverte. So he went out also of the garden, but à reculons, reculons means backwards. So he's facing the dog, goes out backwards, obligé. He was forced to do that, he couldn't do otherwise. To hold the bulldog in respect, to hold him in at a distance, and to have the help of this maneuver of his stick that the masters in this kind of, let's say, fighting call the covered rose. Apparently, the covered rose is some kind of maneuver by which you hold, I think, your stick, you go backwards and you go away from the danger. Apparently. OK. Quand il eut, non sans peine, repassé la barrière et qu'il se retrouva dans la rue, seul, sans gîte, sans toit, sans abri, chassé même de ce lit de paille et de cette niche misérable, il se laissa tomber plutôt qu'il ne s'assit sur une pierre. Well, even though I didn't read the whole sentence, it's a very long part. So, when he had, not without pain or without effort, crossed again the barrier, and that he found himself in the street, alone, without a place to sleep, gîte, without a roof, without shelter, chased even from this straw bed, lit de paille, bed of straw bed, and of this miserable nest or miserable doghouse, he let himself fall rather than he sat down on a stone. So he let himself fall down on a stone when he was outside the garden. Et il paraît qu'un passant qui traversait l'entendit s'écrier. And so it seems that a passerby who crossed, no, sorry. Traverser here means who passed by, well, he passed, heard him scream out, Je ne suis pas même un chien. I am even not a dog. Bientôt, il se releva et se remit à marcher. So, soon after, he stood up again and started to march again. The again is in the re. Re in French means again. Like here, relever, stand up again. And then se mettre à is to start, but that I explained already. So he started to march. Again, il sortit de la ville. So he went out of the city, espérant trouver quelques arbres ou quelques meules dans les champs et s'y abriter. So hoping to find some tree or some meule. I think it's like some kind of millstone. Yeah, that's what it is. In the fields, and to shelter or find shelter there. The little word there is I. Huh? I is very often a place or some kind of part of the sentence starting with A. Good. Il chemina ainsi quelque temps, la tête toujours baissée. So we see in chemina the word chemin, which means the road. So he walked like that some time. The head or his head always down, baissé. Quand il se sentit loin de toute habitation humaine, il leva les yeux et chercha autour de lui. So when he felt far from total human habitation or houses, he, well, again, leva les yeux, so he looked up, put his eyes up, but it's like he looked up and searched around himself. Il était dans un champ. He was in a field. Il avait devant lui une de ces collines basses, couvertes de chaume coupé ras, qui, après la moisson, ressemblaient à des têtes tondues. So he had in front of him one of those low hills covered with chaume. It's like, yes, chaume coupé ras. It's like short cut stubble. And yeah, I think I know what it is, you know, when they have taken away all the wheat in summer, you have those, well, you have this stubble on the field. So that's what it is, so this stubble, which after the harvest looked like shaven heads, tondu shaven heads. Okay, let's scroll. Oh, this is the very last part. L'horizon était tout noir. So the horizon was totally black. Ce n'était pas seulement le sombre de la nuit. It was not only the dark of the night. C'étaient des nuages très bas qui semblaient s'appuyer sur la colline même et qui montaient emplissant tout le ciel. So they were nuages, clouds, very low, which seemed to s'appuyer, to lean on the hill itself, and which went up, filling the whole sky. So I think from the top of the hill, and then the whole sky was full of those clouds. Cependant, comme la lune allait s'élever et qu'il flottait encore au zénith un reste de clarté crépusculaire, ces nuages formaient au, and then we don't have the rest, but okay. So, cependant, but as the moon was going to get up, to come in the sky, and that that there floated still au zenith, meaning, well, at the peak, at the zenith, but at the peak, I think the peak of the hill, un reste, a leftover of clarté crépusculaire. This is like brilliant twilight. Crépuscule is the twilight. Clarté crépusculaire, not really words you have to know, quite hard, but at least understand. Those clouds had the shape of, and we don't know what kind of shape they have, but thank you so much. If you are here with me at the end of the second page, you are really, really very, very strong. Thank you so much. I'm going to finish my coffee. I hope you have a wonderful day. Wherever you are in the world, maybe you're at the other side of the Atlantic, maybe you're in Europe with me. Thank you for reading, and I really hope you will be also with me next week. See you soon. Have a wonderful Tuesday.